When you're starting out, it's really hard to work out how much to charge for real estate photography services. So I'm going to give you a complete rundown on all the services I provide. I'll cover pricing for photography, video and drone services, plus heaps more. So by the end of this video, you will know exactly how much to charge for your services. Let's go. G'day friends, for those of you who don't know me, I've been doing real estate photography for nearly 10 years. And the one thing I noticed when I started out was how hard it was to create my price list. Especially because it's hard to find pricing online because photographers don't advertise their price lists. I'm going to give you a range of pricing for each service. So if you're a beginner, you should be looking at the bottom of the range when you're starting out until you get more experience. If you're intermediate, look to the middle. And if you're experienced, obviously you should be somewhere up the other end. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to get the most earnings out of every single job. And also I'm going to show you how to raise your prices once you've got more experience so you don't lose customers. So let's start with floor plan services. Most of the time you're going to be asked to do a floor plan when you're taking photos. And if you don't do floor plans, you're going to be leaving money on the table because they'll just get somebody else to do it instead. If you don't know how to use floor plan software, you can draw them up on graph paper and send them off to a service and they can get drawn up for you. Or you can use an app like this one called Casa. And this works great. You just walk around the house scanning the house with your phone and it draws the plan up for you. It's not a free service, but it is pretty cheap and the link is in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. The pricing range you should charge for floor plans is somewhere between $90 per plan and $160 a plan. So if you're a beginner, start on the lower end. I would rather get 10 jobs at $90 than 3 jobs at $160. Next up is drone services. Let's start with drone photography. You should only be offering up to 6 images, 2 being shots of the land and the other images being locations around the properties for sale. I've already done a video on how to shoot drone photography right here, but your pricing on drone photography varies between $130 and $300 per property. And now for drone video. Pricing for a 1-minute drone video just using a drone varies between $150 and $250. And as I said earlier, if you're starting out, you should aim for the lower end of that price range. And you will know after a while if your pricing is too cheap because your agents will keep saying, geez, you do a good job, you're so cheap. That's when it's time to raise your prices. Now let's quickly cover virtual staging. You don't need to learn complicated software on how to edit these images. I don't edit mine. I use a program called Virtual Staging AI. I've also done a video on that here if you want to learn more details on how to use it. But it takes seconds to do and it's not a free service, but it is quite cheap. The lowest plan starts at $16 an image for 6 images per month, which works out to be $2.66 an image. But here's where the kicker is. You can charge this service out at a $30 to $60 range per image. The profit on this is huge and it's easy to do. And of course, the link is in the description if you want to check that out. Now let's talk about property videos. If you shoot and edit a lot of videos already, you're going to find that moving over to real estate is going to be pretty easy because you'll just bring your own style to it. You'll also learn what agents want and you should adapt to that fairly quickly. And if you haven't done video before, it's quite a steep learning curve, but you really could get started with the DJI Osmo Mobile and using your phone as your camera. And once you get better at it and start to make more money, you can buy a DJI Ronin or something similar. Prices of these kinds of videos usually range from $300 to $500 per video, with the agent talking at the start and at the end, and them doing a little bit of voiceover work in the middle. Now for the photos, let's talk about photography. Now, day photography has 3 tiers of pricing because some houses are very large and you need to charge more for those services. And sometimes rental agents need photos and they generally need less photos. Tier 1 pricing for day photography is where you provide up to 15 images per property, and that usually ranges somewhere between $125 and $175 per property. Tier 2 pricing for day photography is where you've got a larger property and you provide up to 20 images. That pricing should be somewhere between $175 and $250. And Tier 3 pricing is an easy one. It's for rental properties. You only provide up to 10 images and the price range from that is somewhere between $90 and $140 per property. And now for the pricing of dusk photography. You just add $100 to one of your other packages. So the Tier 1 or Tier 2. I've never been asked to do dusk photos of a rental property. And the reason you're charging more for this is because most of the time you're shooting this after hours and editing after hours, and also it requires a little bit more skill than a day shoot does. If you're good in Photoshop, you can also offer day to dusk conversions where you take a shot that you've shot during the day of the front of a house and you change the sky, brighten up the windows, create shadows, create light falling on the ground and so on, and make it look like it was shot at dusk. The trick here is to shoot this on an overcast day because if you shoot these on a sunny day, the harsh shadows make it look a little bit fake. And the price of this ranges somewhere between $20 and $40 per edited image. You may think some of these prices are a bit cheap or you're underpaid, but if you get a job where someone says, hey, can you do photos, floor plan, drone, and a video, you're making quite a bit of money for one property. You do 3 or 4 hours work on the property, 3 or 4 hours at home, and that's a good chunk of money. And you can do that 3 or 4 times a day, 5 times a day in busy periods. And then you can hire other people to do work while you work as well, so you can double up on your income. Now, as promised, I'm going to tell you exactly how to get the most earnings out of each job. When an agent calls you and asks for just photos for a job, Always ask, do you need floor plan as well? Or do you need drone? Or do you need a video? 30 or 40% of the time they'll say yes, especially when the market's booming, because they don't really care so much. When the market's tight, you might get less yeses than you usually do. But if you say, hey, do you want a floor plan with those photos? They say yes, you've doubled up your income for that one particular job. And I got this idea years and years ago from McDonald's, because it really is just, do you want fries with that? Now let's talk about how to raise your prices without irritating your customers. Whatever pricing you settle on in your price list, I want you to raise your pricing $5 or $10 every financial year. Not the whole price list, every item on that price list goes up $5 or $10. I had an agent ask me once, hey, I saw your new price list, you put everything up by $5, why even bother? And I'll tell you why I bothered, because to him it was just $5 per service. Every time he goes to a job, it's going to cost the vendor $10, $15, $20 more. But for me, because I had a decent range of customers at that point, it added $8,000 a year to my income. It's only a small amount to them, but it's a lot for you. And if you do that every year, they never complain about your prices going up. Half the time they don't even notice. So if you're just getting into real estate photography and you're not sure how to set up your camera or do your camera settings or use your flash or set up your tripod, I've done a video right here on explaining exactly what to do and how to shoot, and I'll see you over there.